know who's a freaking awesome loan officer? Kelly Rice. I cannot even begin to tell you how amazing this woman is. I got the benefit of meeting her about 3 years ago when she first came to work for us. She was in a position to where she wasn't really able to soar like she could. As time went by, we gave her her own office, and she was able to soar with the rest of the Eagles. It's been absolutely amazing watching this girl go from being in the mortgage business to being who the mortgage business is. I am so proud to call Kelly Rice my friend, my colleague, and I am so proud to work with her. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Kelly Rice. Kelly, thank you for taking your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate your kind words. That's definitely humbling.
Well, it's absolutely amazing. You know, there's very few people that know this small, you know, in reality, it's a small amount of time frame. You know, we're talking about a 3-year period here to where you went from working underneath a system that, as far as I'm concerned, was broken into running your own office, taking care of it the way that you know that it needs to be, having your own people, having your own employees, and becoming a top producer inside of the company in a 1-year period.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. And to watch it grow has been such an amazing experience for me. It's even motivated my own children. So, I mean, it covers such a huge spectrum of things. I mean, you're talking about building the confidence, because really that's what it takes. I mean, it takes confidence to be able to get yourself from one point to another and having just a little bit of faith in yourself. And I didn't have that before I came to Hancock. So I got to tell you, that has a lot to do with the people that this company is made up of, because we truly are a family. And I think that if you have that family, if you have that support, the sky's the limit. And I got to attribute a lot of my success to that. So it's not just me. It's not just me doing it by myself. It truly is my entire team. So thank you for that.
I will agree with that completely. But without you as that core, none of it would have been possible. You were the reason that any of it happened. The rest of us are riding on your coattails. Matter of fact, I think you may have gotten something here in the mail in the past couple of days. Is that accurate?
I did. I may have gotten an award.
Is it there where we can see it?
Yeah, hang on. Let me grab it. It was sitting a little farther behind me. Is it mirrored? Can you see it? Let me back up a little.
Yep, flip it around.
Is it mirrored? That better?
Perfect. Mm-hmm. President's Excellence Award.
Excellence Award.
Top performer in the company. And this past year, 2017, was basically your first real year on your own, correct?
Yes, it was. It was learning how to adjust to not only taking on the LO responsibilities, but running the branch itself too. So that was quite a huge accomplishment for me. Being able to bridge both of those, because it's very time consuming to do each job, and then you combine the both of them. I mean, to me, I might have cried a tear or two when I got that award. Not gonna lie.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. You mind? Let's go ahead and get into some of these questions.
Of course.
All right. Now, here's one. I know a lot of this one because to me, it's your drive, it's your tenacity, it's your how humble you are. But this one may be a little tough for you to answer, but I want to hear your response.
Okay.
What makes you stand out from other LOs in your area, in your state, in your community?
That one actually is pretty easy. It's my drive. You know, from the time that you wake up in the morning until the time that you go to bed at night. And I'm talking, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It is literally from 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. That's when you start taking your first phone calls until, could be 10, 11 o'clock at night, given the season. I mean, obviously spring and summer is incredibly, busy. So you might be working till 10, 11 o'clock at night. There is not one single company in this area that can keep up with that. They don't have the support staff for it. They're 9 to 5. They walk in, they walk out. And there's no mortgage brokers in the area that have the compassion and the knowledge. You know, I've been in this industry. This is my 16th year. I've been an underwriter. I've been a closer. I've been a funder. I've been a processor and a loan officer. and a branch manager. So bringing all of those pieces together is really what makes me who I am and makes me so much better than the people that surround me in this industry. I can take a file from the original bones and make it into a beautiful story where others just see pieces of paper and they expect somebody else to do that. I'm completely the opposite of that.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think that you also hold a few records internally also that you may not even know about. I know that you've got some of the fastest turn times internally with Hancock across the nation. If I remember correctly, I'm sitting there thinking that you've got loans that have been approved from cradle to grave into funding in anywhere from 11 to 15 days. Does that sound about right?
It does. It does. I mean, I didn't know I held a record, but that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's absolutely correct. And that just starts with knowing what to expect up front. So, and I believe that my background has a lot to do with that because I can take the bones of that file and I can make sure that everything is documented properly. And the faster you move, the easier you settle a first-time home buyer. And that's truly what the goal is. Because I primarily in my market, and I know we've talked a little bit about this, Johnny, but most people don't know that. The first-time home buyers have there's the certain edge to them. Okay. It's a very scary process. They don't know what they're doing. So what I do is I just try to move fast. They know this when they sit down with me. I explain everything in detail because if you set the proper expectations, you can absolutely achieve that. So I will take them, I will collect everything that I need to get beforehand so that by the time it hits the processor's desk, it's ready to move into underwriting. And that's the key. Speed is a result of the way that you prepare your files up front. So if you do a great job, you oftentimes get those results.
Agree. Agree. One thing that I can add to that is I've been in this business, as of this interview, I've been in this business for right at 24 years. One thing that I can tell you that will make a champion, a top performer all day long above others is not necessarily the repetition, but the amount of units that they touch. So my point being, if you have two people that have been in the business for the same amount of time, one loan officer closes 2 loans a month. One loan officer closes, like yourself, 7, 8, 9, 10 loans a month. The difference is that you have 5 to 10 times more experience than that loan officer that's been in the business the same amount of time because you touch and work with so many more files than your average loan officer. And that's one of the things that I know about you that sets you apart is you do so much more business, you do more volume, and you have more experience because of that than, let's say, your average guy that's done 1 or 2 deals this past month. He or she probably does not have anywhere close to the same skill set as Kelly Rice.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah. And I definitely agree. I think that the experience comes, I mean, because let's face it, we're touching individual lives. Everybody is individual. And this is another thing that I tell my clients. Every single loan transaction is different. And especially when you're training and you're bringing on new employees too, that goes hand in hand. The only way that you're going to be able to touch every single situation, because you're always going to have differences, but is to keep doing it over and over. The more loans you get, the easier it's going to become for you. And then, you're always going to find the ones that don't fit the normal, box. Okay. Like there's always going to be ones that fall way outside of that. But there's always a solution. And if you are a great, if you're able to put the puzzle pieces together, because that's really a lot of what our job is, right? We're trying to make that file, which is somebody's life. So and to us, it's a file, but it's somebody's life. We're trying to make that into something that is the greatest picture of their life, in essence, really. So when you're trying to put those puzzle pieces together, there's always a way to structure them. You just have to think creatively and outside of the box to be able to do that in some cases. And that's one of my favorite parts about this job, is being able to do that.
Agreed. You're 100% correct. One of the things, and then I want to move on, is that I'm so impressed with you is you actually use someone who has been a dear friend of mine for 20 plus years in this business. You use that person as a mentor. And one of the things that I have told people repeatedly over and over again is to stop hiring loan officers, stop hiring time takers, and hire people who help you with your time. So if I am correct, I do believe that you have taken that person on as a mentor, followed what that person has, and you've actually expanded, you've had to expand your operations staff there in Bourbonnais. Is that accurate?
That is completely accurate. So, and that's the hardest part too, is knowing when to pull that trigger, because it is so hard to grow. It's easy to stay where you're at, right? It's comfortable. It's super challenging to grow because you got to add more people and more time and more money, and all of that stuff goes into it. Space too, because we're pretty limited with the space. You can see I have part storage behind me. So I have part storage, but our office is very small because that drives down the cost, and that's one of the most important things. So you gotta try to balance all those things out. I'm not looking to, and I'm not going to hire a bunch of loan officers, because in my opinion, it is much more beneficial to put all of your time and energy into yourself. And I do have one loan officer here, and to put my time and energy into her, because I believe that we share the same mentality. Okay. And it's making your clients feel at ease. It's making them feel like they are able to achieve things, because, we're not in this business, and everybody's a little bit different. There's quite a few that are in this business for very different reasons. But I'm in this business to make sure that these people get taken care of, because they don't understand the industry. They want to make sure that they've got a good grasp on what that is. And I want to make sure that they feel that. So you have to excuse my phone. I probably should have turned off my ringer. But my job is to make sure that they understand everything, because they're going to be a referral source for life. These customers of mine, they're not going to leave. They're not going to refinance unless they're going to call me, and they're going to do that. So, everything that we do, we also provide coaching. We let them know when that refinance is going to come. All of those things make us who we are. I'm not going to be a babysitter. Johnny, we've talked about that a lot. I'm not going to make sure that everybody else is doing their job effectively. I want to build this business based on who I am and the mentality that surrounds that, which is just genuinely being a good person. And then the rest will follow suit. It really will. And it's amazing what's come about. And that person that you were referring to, she's been an incredible mentor of mine. And it's because of her that, I'm in part here today. So I'm not saying that it wasn't hard work, but I can also say that she's done a lot for me and changed my opinion of myself by learning how to separate what I do and why I do it. So, in terms of competition, there's all kinds of competition out there. But she really made me understand that I truly don't have any competition. And that's the key. The key is that I do such different business from anybody else that that's what makes me me. That's what makes this office. It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than that. So she's done a lot for me, and the encouragement and the support from you guys. I couldn't be more thankful for all of it. It's just the puzzle pieces fell into place, and very lucky. So thank you again.
Well, let's just say God bless Jane Stathis.
Yep.
What technology do you love using that is provided by Hancock Mortgage Partners?
Specifically, I think to build business is really what I like about Hancock, and the listing booster itself. Okay, so you've got the perpetual machine that was built out specifically by Hancock. And then you also have Listing Booster. So for anybody who is getting in the business, or for somebody who's looking to expand and grow and continuously improve, Listing Booster is a way to get in with real estate agents. It's a way to create additional leads for them, to provide value, all of those things. That has to be my favorite right there. I can get in, I can get exactly what I need from them, and it's a super easy process to set up. And once you set that up, it's amazing the relationships that it creates for you. So that's definitely my favorite.
Agree. We at this company, and me personally, are great friends with Brian Stevens, Frank Garay, Kevin Bilberry. They're the owners of Listing Booster. It's one of my favorite pieces of technology for the price, the $197 a month that it is. I almost feel like we're stealing it from those guys.
Yeah. And we have two running in this office. So we don't just do one. We have two that run through this office. And it's worth every penny. I mean, the couple $100 a month times two, worth every single penny.
What changes are you going to do to increase the amount of leads to yourself and your referral partners, let's say in this next quarter, let's say in this next year, calendar year?
Well, Facebook happens to be my number one lead source right now. And there's a couple of different things that we do to make Facebook provide those leads, right? We've got Listing Booster. We also do the Hot Homes. Those are two great lead sources for both real estate agents and ourselves. So continue to build the Listing Booster. And that's really just branching out and adding additional real estate agents from the entire state, because this is something that you can do across the entire state. It's not something that's limited to a very general area, really remotely close to you. So branching out throughout the state. And then just increasing my video exposure to Facebook. I don't particularly care for it. It's very hard for me. The business model that we have supports it entirely, and it's really just a fear. Okay, so maybe that's conquering a little bit of my own personal fears, watching myself on video, but to continue to build those. I want to take them from every 2 weeks to once a week, and that's going to continuously drive in those leads too. Social media marketing, that's taking that up a notch. It's really spending a lot of time focused in on the things that are producing the biggest amount of return for you. And I got to tell you, it's all Facebook. Instagram too. Instagram is becoming very, very popular. So those two are my focus.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. What do you love most about being a loan officer?
Closing day.
Tell me what that means.
There is nothing that feels as good as when you get to the closing table for a buyer, especially on a purchase. Refis are a little bit different. They've done it before, but for purchases, being able to be that crutch for somebody, and you've got a range of emotions. It goes from being excited to, being nervous, anxious. All of those emotions are heightened up by the time they get to the closing table. They're ready for tears because they're actually getting those keys in their hand. And there has never been a job that I've ever worked that has been more rewarding for me. So when I get to the closing table and I know that I've done my job effectively, I know that I can sleep very good at night. So closing days off, it's definitely my favorite.
Just to let you know, I live vicariously through you guys. It does my heart so good that I get to follow you guys when you're closing loans, and I get to be there in the pictures when they invite you to their opening house, when they move in their house, and when they invite you guys to their backyard barbecues and all of that, because you helped them get this house. It's something that does my heart good, knowing that not only did you do a great job and get these people into their own home and help build a better community, but these people think so much of you to have you and your family into their home. It does my heart so good. And again, I just absolutely love living vicariously through you guys.
Isn't it amazing? It really, truly is an amazing feeling. It never gets old, Johnny. I don't care how many loans I close, each and every one of those, they start off as clients and they leave as friends. They do. And they'll tag me in Facebook posts even years after this has happened. Hey, I want you to meet so-and-so. Private Facebook messages. It's an amazing thing to watch, and forever grateful, because I feel amazing after it. It's an instant high as soon as you get to the closing table. And you need to know that you had even just the smallest part of that. It's American dream. Everybody wants the American dream. It's amazing.
Do you have any tips or advice to help other loan officers, maybe in your area, maybe in your area, your part of the state, maybe in your state, maybe across the country?
Yeah, not to be afraid. Okay. It took me a really long time, and I feel like this set me back a little bit. It took me a really long time, and to be comfortable in my own skin, to be able to even get behind a camera. I mean, hours it would take me to make a minute video. And it's not that I'm not confident. I mean, you talk to me on the phone, 5 seconds, you know that I'm a confident person. It doesn't have anything to do with confidence, and it's more of fear. Everybody's got their own little thing. Well, I think that for me, that was the hardest thing that I've had to do, that I think that people need to just take a step back. And it's all social media, because even if it's not video, it's going to be posting on Facebook. Some people don't like to write. Sometimes that's very, very difficult for them. And it's just stepping outside your comfort zone and allowing yourself the opportunity to fail, because you can only go up from failure. You know, I mean, you got to fail to be able to get to the next step. So it might not be perfect. My first 100 videos aren't perfect, and I don't even watch them. As soon as I post them, I'm done with them. But it doesn't matter, because the end result is you get so much coming back from that. People will start instantly Facebook messaging you. It's just not to let fear drive you. Keep pushing yourself, keep believing in yourself, because let me tell you, I'm living proof that you can do it.
Agree. Two things that when you were talking about that I thought of immediately. Years and years ago, I've got a friend that's not in this business at all. His name is Craig Morehouse, and I don't even know if he'll ever see this, but Craig Morehouse told me they can't eat you. And at the time, it didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But I was in my early 20s at the time when he said that. And I have people all of the time ask me now, I'll get off stage speaking in front of thousands of people. I will talk to anybody. It makes no difference who they are. We're all equal. We're all, just as good as the next. So I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. And I've had people ask me when I get off stage, how do you do that? How can you talk in front of 1,000 people, 2,000 people, and not be worried about it? And I say the same thing every time. They can't eat you. Yep. And that's just the way it is. Another thing that you had said about doing the video and just doing it, my great friend, I swear to God, somehow we were separated at birth, Brian Stevens. Brian Stevens out in California with the National Real Estate Post. He says this to everybody on every video they make. The video you're making today is the worst video you're ever going to make, because tomorrow's will be better. And the one after that will be better, no matter what. So just keep going forward. He also, just so you know, Brian, I think has, 500,000 followers, 250,000 individual users a day. He doesn't watch his own videos. So yeah. all of us in the mortgage world live by his videos every single day to get started in the morning. He doesn't even watch his own videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to conquer. We all have flaws, but nobody picks on us the way that we pick on ourselves. So, and that's the biggest thing. It's the fear of not liking it or critiquing yourself. Has nothing to do with confidence, nothing in whatsoever. And I think that once you get pushed past that fear and you just go ahead and dive in, you don't have to watch it. Just put it out there, because really what they want is the value. They want the value. They want the content. They want to know how you're going to help them get to the next point. And if you do that, it's an instant jump start to your career.
Agree. Now, this question, I'm not a fan of this question. Your colleagues put this question together. I actually wanted it removed. It is something that I was told is staying, and it's part of this interview. So I just want to have that out there to start out with. What do you love about working at Hancock Mortgage Partners?
Oh, well, I like that one. I'm glad it stayed. I've never worked at a company first that has the level of support that we have for each other, because not only do we treat our clients like family, because that's the ultimate goal, we treat each other like family. In most companies, it's a competition. It's as soon as you turn your back, somebody else is going to call on that lead. Somebody else is going to do the work. They're going to try to sneak it out from underneath of you. They're talking louder and louder so that, you can't hear the client on your phone. They want to take control. Okay. It's a competition, and not a healthy one. It's a competition to destroy you or to bring you down. Our company is exactly the polar opposite. We talk to each other every single day, and sometimes till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. We refer each other any leads that we have. And because of social media, because of Facebook, we're able to help each other, bring each other real estate agents. We're bringing each other clients from across the country. So we have something, a dynamic that's about us that I can't really put my finger on. But we truly are a family. And once you understand that the family feeds the family first, okay? Because you have to know that we all have to start somewhere, and it's together that makes us stronger. So I think the whole picture of Hancock Mortgage isn't just me by myself. And this is why I say that, and call it humble, call it whatever. But it's my family. It's my brothers and my sisters who I watch and I am able to support, and vice versa. They do the same for me. If I'm having a rough day, they're going to be the first person to try to make sure that I'm okay. Is there something wrong with me? Is there something that they can do to help? That is what makes HMP who we are.
I don't want to belabor this, but I do want you to expand on that, because there may be people watching this that don't necessarily understand the geographical footprint that you're talking about. So when you're talking about your brothers and sisters, you're talking about your family members, you're talking about helping. If I'm reading you correctly, you're talking about all the way from Marty Johnson in Utah to Patrick Quayle in Massachusetts, to Greg Peckman in Tennessee or Florida, to Chad Prio in Texas. Is that what you're trying to relay?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. Every single one of the loan officers that works within Hancock Mortgage Partners, we have a chat that we keep going. I don't know if you know this, Johnny. If you don't, you do now. But we have a chat where we talk to each other every single second of the day. And if somebody needs help or somebody needs to jump in, there's always somebody who's got different marketing ideas. There's somebody who's got different ideas on how to make something work. Like, everybody's got their own little specialties that they're very, very good at. And we all help each other. That's what makes us fantastic. And yes, it's clear across the country. So, it doesn't matter where they're at, where their brick and mortar building is. I have these people in my life every single day. And without them, the support, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And that's what brought me to Hancock. That's what keeps me at Hancock, because they are my family. I know that if I needed to pick up the phone, Johnny, and have you come down, you would be like, when do you need me? I mean, there's no price tag for what that means for a loan officer to be able to have that support. Same thing with my underwriter. I can call my underwriter at any given time during the day and tell her I've got something that's a little bit unique, and I want to make sure that this is how she would treat the situation, or how I should structure something. That is always on. It doesn't go away. Last night she gave me a clear to close. It was 9:30 at night, Johnny. 9:30. You don't get that at a bank.
I know that. There is a method to the madness. There is a blueprint that I've always wanted to put together my whole career in the mortgage business, and this is what it is.
Yep.
What is one obstacle that you've had to overcome as a loan officer?
I think we've all had quite a few. Probably my biggest obstacle was myself. I think that we don't intentionally do things to stop the progress of where we're at in our careers. And I think that me just understanding that I was not bringing my career to the next level because of fear, that either I couldn't do it or that I wouldn't be able to do it, stopped me. If I wouldn't have come to Hancock and I wouldn't have had the surroundings that I had, I would be in a much different place right now. I've spent most of my career in a very processing oriented or, corporate structure. And it took a lot for me to come outside of my comfort zone. And when I finally made that determination and finally just said, you know what, I need to just take the step, believe in myself. And, that goes as far as videos and training and hiring people, all of that stuff. When you finally come to the realization that not only can you do it, but, you're getting awards, that is where it opens you up to a completely different level. So I think my biggest problem was myself, just allowing myself the opportunity to let myself grow.
I think that's probably something that a lot of people could relate to.
Yeah.
Here's one that everybody just laughs at and loves, because I don't think any of us that are in this business, I never remember in my whole life in school anything saying, I can hardly wait to grow up and become a loan officer. Did you always want to be a mortgage loan officer? If so, why? If no, what were you pursuing before this?
No, I didn't want to become a loan officer. I didn't even know that job even existed, because nobody really talks about mortgages or credit or anything like that. I thought I was going to be an attorney. I'm very headstrong, which most of the people in this business are. I mean, it takes a certain kind of person to do this job. It's a constant grind. You got to be quick. You got to be, on your feet. You got to make sure that you're solving problems and doing things. And, you got to state your case 9 times out of 10. I really thought I was going to be an attorney.
I can see that very, very easily. This is one thing where you and my wife, who the two of you are friends, the two of you relate to, because I can see both of you arguing with a fence post. So that would make a great attorney.
Yes. I mean, my dad even swore I was destined for it. I didn't think I was going to have any kids. I pictured my life living in the city and, walking to my firm. I didn't picture that I was going to have kids, and my life took a different turn for me. I knew that I wanted to do mortgages, though, at a very young age. I mean, I was 20 when I decided that I wanted to get into the game. And that was because I couldn't finance my own vehicle. I'll never forget it. I had a car. I was making car payments when I was 16 years old. Beautiful Camaro, but that's besides the point. Missed that car to this day. I was making car payments, but it was under my parents' name. So really, I was only helping my parents, and I didn't understand how to fix that. And so when I went to go buy my first car, like legitimately on my own, they're like, sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. I didn't want to live under my parents. I wanted to do it for myself. So I had to figure out how to fix that. I had to figure out how I could understand credit, how I could make sure that I was able to explain this to other people. And at that point, I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna start making this a point to educate others. And then I built a career off of it. So that's my story.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone looking to purchase a home? Now, this could be a first-time home buyer. This could be a move up, a move down. Give me one piece of advice that you want to give to that person that's sitting on the other side of the phone, the other side of the disclosure desk, the other side of the e-disclosures. What's one piece of advice you would give to that person?
I want to tell them to take the risk, because that's really what it is. A lot of times people don't pull the trigger because they think it's going to be much harder than it actually is. And the fact of the matter is, it's not difficult. I mean, is there a lot of paperwork that needs to be done? Absolutely. But if you find the right team, and even if that team is not me, if you find the right team, it's not a scary process. And the longer they wait to pull the trigger, specifically new buyers, the longer they wait to pull that trigger, the more money they're paying for their landlord's retirement, not for their own wealth benefit whatsoever. So if they just jump in and they pull that trigger and they figure out that they are worth it, because really it's a lot of times they're too scared. They don't know what to do. If they figure out that they're worth it, pull that trigger, their life is going to change. Because I mean, rates are only going to continue to get worse. They're not going to get any better. They're not going to get any lower. They need to take the leap and do that before it becomes even less that they're qualified for. So that's my advice.
That's a great piece of advice. Most of the time when I ask that question, it's the answer has been make sure that you're comfortable with your loan officer, make sure you get pre-qualified. But that's the first time I've heard that from that perspective, and you're 100% correct. There are so many people out there that qualify, that could get into the community as a homeowner and build wealth. I think I heard a national statistic. It may have been Barry Habib that said it here recently, that as an average across the nation, I believe it's the home values double every 10 years, 12 years, something like that. So it got me thinking, if you take out a 30-year mortgage and you borrow, let's say you borrow $100,000, and in 10 years that house is worth $200,000. In 20 years, that house may be worth $300,000. I don't know, where that stat came from exactly, but the whole idea, because in reality, unless you're going to live under a bridge, you have to live somewhere. And unless you're beautiful like you and I, somebody's going to make you have to pay rent. So why not pay yourself rent and build that wealth? I think that's a great perspective to think on it from. Thank you very much for that answer.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I just to kind of add to that, Johnny, I had two of my first time home buyers came back to me for a refinance. We weren't lowering their interest rate. Okay. Not at all. But both of their homes had appreciated to, one of them over 20% stake in less than 2 years. The other one was at like an 18% stake in that 2-year time frame. So they removed their mortgage insurance enough to save them money as if they would have reduced into a lower rate. So, those are huge wins that people don't get to see if they're too scared to pull that trigger.
Huge wins. Tell me what the look on their face was when they saw that appraisal, when you told them that in that short amount of time that the value of their home had gone up 18 and 20%.
Oh, it was amazing. And it's like the closing table never truly gets old. When you get to sit them down and just explain to them, hey, listen, and I'm a little bit different than most people. I don't even wait for the appraisal. I will get a CMA. I've got real estate agents who are very, very good friends of mine. They're not business partners. They're also friends. So I will get a comparative market analysis before we even pull the trigger because it costs them money. So, if you do your homework up front, you kind of have an idea of where that's going to be. So I knew it was going to come in somewhere around where it actually fell. And just to be able to hear, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? They're getting hit up with refi stuff all the time. There's always a company out there we're going to reduce your rate. And then they're like, Kelly, is this for real? Is this really going to happen? And then you got to explain to them, no, that's not really going to happen because that's not really where rates are. But if you take the right steps, this is what you say. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to see which property value is going to come in at. We're going to see if it's going to be beneficial for you. And now all my FHA borrowers have moved to their conventional forever homes without mortgage insurance. And that is where the beauty and wealth comes in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's beautiful. All right. Last question. And this is my Bryant Gumbel question. This is the one that I try and catch you completely off guard and let the world know the Kelly Rice that I know, and catch you where you're just not ready for it. So you and your husband Bob were able to do something here in the past few months that was, to me, absolutely amazing. I followed it on Facebook. I actually asked you about it, and you had told me a couple of the things about it. Not, you can talk about one if you want, about how maybe an old boss of yours had promised your kids something and it never came through, things like that. But you were able to take your family at your expense on an incredible vacation to where you stayed where you wanted to, you ate what you wanted to, you went where you wanted to. It was no issue, no object. Tell me about that, and tell me how great that was for your family and your children and everybody else that you brought.
I have definitely got some tears in my eyes right now. It was Johnny. It was probably one of the best vacations we've ever had in our life. And not only did I take my family, but I also took my sister and my niece too. So I went from a point where before we had I had a previous mentor who had done some damage to me, I want to say internally, which might have been part of the reason that I lived with that self-doubt that we had chatted about earlier for a long time. I promised my child he was going to come up with a vacation for us. So it was something that was going to be done for him. Very excited, my child, because loved this person very, very much. Needless to say, that didn't come through. But that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, because I pulled myself away from the negative situation that I was in, because of who I saw in myself, and sometimes that's very hard to see, I was able to create the lifestyle that I truly wanted for my children. And I didn't need to wait on somebody else to make that vacation for me. It was something I was able to take on my own. So it was no expense spared. You're no exaggeration there. I got to stay in a place that I never thought I would be able to stay in, because I had never been in a place like that in my life. Okay. And not just the actual vacation itself. It was, I bought a house. I was able to take care of myself in such a way that is something that I've been chasing for a very long time. And it's not that the hard work and the ethic and the drive weren't there. It's that the puzzle pieces weren't there. So, and that's very crucial to making sure that you make better decisions in your life. And maybe I'd stayed for a little bit longer than I should have. But it was an emotional experience for me. It was something that I've always wanted to do, and me myself, it's been, my oldest is 17, and we've been on 1, 2, 3. That was my third family vacation in that 17 years. So to be able to live it and not live it on a budget, and be able to take my kids and do things with my kids that I never even imagined, it's enough to make you tear up a little bit, for sure. It's an amazing feeling, and to be able to see your kids. My youngest calls me Wonder Woman. I'm going to tell you just a quick little story about that. We were watching Wonder Woman, and you know the part where she's running and like bullets are flying off? Have you ever seen it, Johnny?
Yes. Oh, yes.
My niece was over, and who's just a baby. She can't hear me. You know, she kind of knows what I'm talking about. She just shakes her head at me, right? Less than a year old. And I was like, look, Avery, this is you. Like, you're Wonder Woman. And my son says, no, Mom, that's not Avery. That's you. And at that point, you know, and that's a tearjerker, because my son has literally watched me come from an empty refrigerator to being able to take him on vacations like that. And having your kids, there's no greater for me, especially, but to have your kids be able to recognize the achievement that you've had every step of the way, and be your encouraging soundboard along while you do that, it makes them believe that their dreams are possible. So it's been an incredible emotional journey for me. And it's been a great journey for my kids too, because I think that they'll have the same self-confidence, maybe a step or two ahead of what I had. And I mean, as a parent, that's really the only thing you can ask for.
Absolutely wonderful, beautiful answer. I am so glad you shared that. I know that
You got me there. I was a little choked up.
Good. That's what the idea behind it was. Kelly, I want to thank you for taking your time out today. I know you're busy. I know your phone's going off like crazy. Matter of fact, when we started this interview, you were on the phone with your underwriter, and I believe she was apologizing because something wasn't going to be able to happen or something along those lines. So I appreciate you doing this. There's a reason why Kelly Rice is a freaking awesome loan officer. And if after this interview you don't understand it, why don't you give her a call? She's in Bourbonnais, Illinois. She's one of my heroes. Kelly Rice is a freaking awesome loan officer.